UFC 313 just recently wrapped up, and I am going to recap the entire card. I'll start from the first fight of the night and then work up to the main event where we saw Alex Pereira's reign come to an end and Ankalaev gets a decision. Some feel questionable. We'll talk in detail about it soon. Overall, I thought it was a pretty decent card. Definitely some fun fights. Sick knockout for Ruffy. Great win for Bahamondes. Back and forth war between Gaethje and Fiziev in their rematch. So lots to talk about. We're going to get into it all right now. Let's start it off. Fight number one. We had Djorden Santos versus Ozzy Diaz. I was picking Ozzy Diaz coming into this fight, and I thought his grit could get it done. Ultimately, he does. It seems like the consensus from the chat was they felt kind of 50-50, I guess. You know, some people were trying to tell me, oh, it was a robbery. No, I think Ozzy Diaz won the second and third round. Convincing win in the third round. Clear win in the third round. Competitive second round, but I thought landed slightly better shots in competitive matchup. First round, Santos won. Djorden Santos and Ozzy Diaz both were a really similar level, like bottom tier of the middleweight division. Just to keep it real, I like Ozzy's grip, but I told you guys throughout the week what I thought of Djorden Santos. I think he was a completely overrated prospect and a guy that even coming into contender series, I didn't think was very good. He's tough for sure. He's definitely got durability and grit. Nobody's doubting his toughness. But as far as offensive skill and precision attack, not super impressive. Ozzy Diaz handles business. I got to take a sip of this Diet Coke. Unanimous decision as well. 2 rounds to, 1. And I think second and third round. A good finish at the end was walking Santos down. Diaz ate everything Santos threw at him. I guess same on Santos' side, but Santos was more visibly hurt than Diaz in certain instances throughout the fight, and I think that is a big reason that Diaz won, is the body language, right? At most of the moments, Diaz's body language in certain exchanges looked better than Santos's. So congrats to Diaz for the W, starting the card off with an underdog dub and a pretty good back and forth. You would have thought it was the fight of the night, but no, there were some bangers. Robbery of the night, Mairon Santos versus Francis Marshall. I completely disagree with the scorecard. I really think that Francis Marshall won. I really do. I mean, I get it. Mairon Santos had some good striking moments from the outside and busted Marshall's nose up a bit. And Santos is pretty crisp and clean, but I just think it's hard to see Mairon Santos winning the whole fight. You can maybe give him a round, but the entire fight, 29-28, 2 rounds, he definitely lost the first. I don't think he won the second. I thought he lost the second. I didn't really feel confident he won the third. I thought Marshall might get the third. I thought 30-27 or 29-28, like close moments in like the second and third round, but I still thought it was clear for Marshall. In the first round was definitely Marshall's. It was a competitive fight, not like it was a blowout. Like the scorecard could have been 30-27, and I wouldn't have batted an eye per se, but it didn't mean that they weren't close rounds, right? Throat is killing me right now. Holy smokes. Because I'm ready to have a meltdown for this fight. I really thought that Francis Marshall did enough. I guess, eventually I'm going to go back and rewatch this fight when I do some tape forthcoming, but initial thought is in the future, Francis Marshall is going to be a valuable bet. He was an underdog pick for me here, and I thought that he had won the fight. And I don't think it was the bias of my pick, though. I know some people might be under that assumption, but I do this every single week, and I have for years, man. And I'll tell you straight when I think I lost or not, And I really felt confident that this was a winning call. But regardless of that, Mairon Santos, his striking is pretty good. Wrestling defense, for the most part, holds up. Marshall had him down a little bit, right? 3 takedowns, but not like he did substantial work from top. Marshall did hurt Santos with big punches. He was pretty consistent with his boxing. I feel like Francis Marshall had superior boxing to Mairon Santos. Francis Marshall is better with his hands. Santos does have crisp kicks, though, and decent straights. He did enough to bust Marshall up, but I don't think he did enough to win the fight. My scorecard read Francis Marshall at the end of it. I'm standing on business with that. It's hard to even argue the third round for me to say, oh, well, Santos win the third. No, I think Marshall was walking him down, throwing hard, attacking heavy, backing him up. I think Marshall definitely did enough. I think he got robbed. I really do. He looked awesome in this fight, man. This was a breakout performance. Unfortunately, he doesn't get the win on paper, but the real fans know who won the fight, and it was Francis Marshall. Let's keep moving up. Next fight on the card. Alex Morono got absolutely wrecked by Carlos Leal. Morono, I think he'll still be on the roster because his OG status. But ultimately, he got whooped. He got whooped. He got bullied, man. He got backed up. He got rocked. He was like out on his feet, man, just getting ripped with punches by Leal. He was trying to swing wild shots back, but Leal was too technical. Leal came into this fight, looks still in great shape, but no more body acne. So the accusations of the you-know-what's, the little juice, we got to pull him back because he definitely doesn't look like he's on it now. And he was in fantastic shape here, and he made easy work of Alex Morono, who's been on the roster for a long time and is a relatively decent journeyman. I feel like I got food stuck in my throat over here. Damn. Streaming for 6+ hours and then doing this. Maybe the voice is slightly hoarse, so bear with me, guys. But ultimately, Carlos Leal's good. He's like top 30 for sure. I'd be really interested in seeing him fight Randy Brown. I would. I really would like that fight. I don't know if that's the route they would go on. I'll have to actually check here. Give me a moment. I think Randy Brown's booked to fight somebody, but that could actually be a good matchup. Where is Randy Brown? I don't know. Do they have him not ranked in the higher tier? What? Randy Brown's fighting Nicholas Dalby. Okay. I could see him fight the winner of that one. Don't know how much of a jump up the ranks they give him. I mean, he should have beat Fakhretdinov, so he should be 2-0 in the UFC. If the Dalby fight wasn't already booked, I'd say that. I mean, maybe if you're Leal, stay ready because he could fill in and fight Dalby or Brown. I think those are real possibilities for the next matchup for him. I like those a lot. I like either one of those opponents, to be honest with you, man. I don't know if they want to give him Oban Elliott, a young up-and-coming guy that's been looking good. They could, potentially, but I prefer a Randy Brown or a Nicholas Dalby fight for him. I could see either one of those fights being next for Carlos Leal after beating up Morono. I mean, I guess I can kind of matchmake for Morono, but I don't really want to. Man, he's in a bad spot. Uros Medic. Yeah, he should fight Uros Medic. Medic coming off that knockout loss to Soriano. Most recent win was Tim Means, who also Alex Morono has beaten. Yeah, that's a perfect fight, though. Morono versus Uros Medic is not crazy. I think that actually makes a ton of sense, and I could see the UFC doing it. I don't think they're releasing Morono yet, but if he loses one more, I think he's on the chopping block and won't be on the roster. So, Leal, because he may ease work. If he went 3 hard with Leal, maybe a little different, but he got fucked up, man. 1 round, bullied, knocked out. Bruno Ferreira and Armin Petrosyan. This was fantastic, bro. Another big dog that I had. Or I tell you guys all week, fuck the odds, man. It's about the fight. The odds are separate from the fight. They just gonna deceive you. You think, oh, well, the underdog should win. No, the odds don't matter. Bruno Ferreira was absolutely game as hell in this fight. Striking-wise, he landed some overhand shots early with Petrosyan, but Petrosyan had moments striking. And Petrosyan was looking tactical and, picking his shots pretty well. He did catch Ferreira with 2 groin shots in round 1, which resulted in a point deduction, which actually I respect the ref for doing so. So round 1 was 9-9, but I do think Petrosyan won the round, but with the point deduction, it was even. Second round, Petrosyan was looking relatively good, but Ferreira was pretty relentless with his striking attack. Ultimately, though, Petrosyan, it's just, he can't really grapple well. Like, Ferreira was relentless with some takedowns, and even though they were not super technical, Ferreira was able to eventually get him down, and then he ends up locking up this triangle armbar in a scrambling sequence that was very high-level technique, I must say. And he ends up getting the tap in round 2. Perfect submission. Absolutely sensational win for Ferreira, who's got good grappling game, power striking style. I will say, like, he did look like he was starting to fatigue a bit, but having the takedown threat worked out for him, man. He was able to finish this fight super strong and lock up a sub against a guy that's primarily a kickboxer, a guy that doesn't really have, quality skills on the mat. But at the end of it all, you have to respect the absolute ballistic pressure from Ferreira and the fact that he's kind of short as fuck for middleweight, but he's still out there doing pretty well, and he was at a big disadvantage of height. Now, fighting Armin Petrosyan is a good win for Bruno because it keeps him amongst the higher level. With Petrosyan, it's an interesting position. Like, I don't know. I think of Petrosyan as like an ultimate mid type fighter. Bruno Ferreira, he lost to Abus Magomedov and his other loss in Sultan Riziboyev, but he's won, 3 out of his last 4 fights. Inside of the UFC, he's 4-2, which I think is really impressive. And he got a nice win here against Petrosyan. I don't think that he's fighting anybody ranked, but he's definitely a fun guy in the mid tiers of middleweight. I'm thinking the winner of Mearshart and Brad Tavares is probably the perfect next fight for Bruno Ferreira. I would pick that. I could see the UFC going that route as well. That would be my optimal situation. They're fighting in less than a month. I think timelines could work out. So Ferreira versus the Mearshart and Tavares winner. I love it. Don't know if that will definitely happen, but an idea for what could be next. For Petrosyan, I really don't know. Genuinely, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. It's like he's sent back pretty far. I mean, Dustin Stoltzfus and Petrosyan, that kind of makes sense. Dustin Stoltzfus and Petrosyan, I'd say, but he might not be in the UFC. I don't know when Petrosyan wants to come back. They might give something else to Bruno Ferreira as well, because I'm just looking at the rankings. Like I'm seeing Cesar Almeida in that like top 50 guys that are around the level. I mean, could it be Andre Petroski versus Ferreira? That's definitely a possibility. I don't think that's a far-fetched fight either. Kind of thinking the backup option could be Petroski and Ferreira, because Petroski fought not too long ago against Adolfo Vieira and pulled off a nice win. So Bruno Ferreira still in the mix, still super entertaining, and good performance, good win. Next fight was the featured prelim, which was a shutout from Joshua Van, as anticipated. Rei Tsuruya definitely has good grappling, but he's pretty one-dimensional. He kind of only has grappling pressure and takedown threats, and he's not super crafty with his striking, like at all. His stand-up game is very rudimentary. I think he needs a lot of work at striking. Like, I really think he needs to dial a year into prioritizing stand-up. Like, having great wrestling / jiu-jitsu is awesome and all, but if you don't have a means to get it there because you run into a guy like Joshua Van, you're just going to get pieced up for 3 rounds and fail on, majority of takedowns. He landed 4 takedowns out of 21 attempts, so he was spamming the fuck out of the takedowns, but really couldn't do much with them. The best position he had was kind of like that side saddle scarf hold position, I believe in round 2. Other than that, though, Van would scramble, get up to his feet, land good shots, and had Tsuruya backing away from him, losing the striking exchanges. Van just kept on putting the pressure. Good teep kicks up the center. A couple that hit the groin of Tsuruya, but Van was on point with those teeps, and Tsuruya didn't like them. And Van was cracking him with big punches on the feet and just kept ripping him with shots. He did significantly more damage with his strikes. It was kind of like a night and day striking differential. There was a really like low strike output for Rei Tsuruya. I don't think that he deserved to be in this spot, to be fair. I mean, Joshua Van just beat Cody Djorden, who's like, amongst the top 20 of the flyweight division. So this seemed like a big step down in competition. I was really surprised seeing the odds get closer today as opposed to what they were, a few days before the fight. And I'm thinking about Joshua Van, and I'm like, he's got to be top 15. Like, he's got to be top 15 now. It has to be. He has to fight top 15. Charles Johnson has a win over him, so he doesn't take that fight. Is it a crazy stretch to do a Kaya Sakura versus Joshua Van fight? I don't think so. Is it a crazy stretch to do Bruno Silva versus Joshua Van? I don't think so. I think those are both real possibilities. Currently, Joshua Van has a nice win streak. He's won 3 fights in a row, and I think that he's showing improvements each and every fight, and I feel like fighting forward towards the top 15 is kind of a must now. They have to match him up with somebody in the rankings. I don't think you look back. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to give him like Estevam? They're going to give him Ronaldo Rodriguez if he beats Borjas, maybe? Alessandro Costa? Like, I don't know. I just don't see that. I think that they should give him somebody ranked, somebody legit, somebody like a Bruno Silva. I think that makes a lot of sense. Somebody even like a Kaya Sakura, that's fine too. And I know Kaya Sakura fought for the belt, and now it's like, oh, he's fighting Van, who's making a debut. Well, he fought way up the ranks in a spot that maybe he didn't deserve to fight in, and now he has to fight somebody breaking into the top 15. I don't think that's crazy either. I like Joshua Van against either one of those two. I think high-level competition is what he needs. As far as Rei Tsuruya, I don't know, man. Jesus Aguilar? That's a hard fight, though. But Jesus Aguilar seems like a cool matchup. That actually seems kind of likely, right? Jesus Aguilar versus Rei Tsuruya next. He might not win that fight. That'd be a hard matchup for him, man. Aguilar's a tough customer. I like that matchup, though. I'd pick that. Don't know what the UFC is going to do exactly, but of course, there's always options. There's always somebody. It might be a debuting guy. It might be Clayton Carpenter, who's, another prospect that just took, his first loss, and it was against Tagiru Lembekov, which was a crazy jump in competition. Yeah, I think Carpenter and Tsuruya both got rushed up the ranks a bit fast for my liking. But good win for Joshua Van. Incredibly crafty talent, smooth boxing skills, great takedown defense. The kid's a true hybrid MMA fighter. He's good everywhere, but he primarily is a priority striker. He's from Myanmar, right? He's the Burmese striking, like is in the blood, right? The Burmese boxing, the Lethwei. You can see it in the way that Van throws. Dude's a gangster. I'm telling you, 23 years old. I see Joshua Van eventually really working towards the top 10. Let's jump to the next fight. It is our main card opener. It was Bobby King Green versus Mauricio Ruffy, and holy hell. Bobby Green got separated from consciousness extremely quickly. 2 minutes into the fight, it was a fake of the left hook to the spinning kick. The spinning heel kick, really, or spinning wheel kick, depending on what you want to call it, connects perfectly on Bobby King Green. And he just goes flat down and out. And the fight ends. I mean, striking-wise, Ruffy was throwing feints out there, making his reads. It was a pretty, patient early start to the fight. He did actually rock Green with a straight shot a little bit beforehand. Ruffy just looked levels above Green. And I said it all week, Ruffy is going to build his hype back with this one. People were writing him off after the Yontop fight, which just had so many, outside of the cage intangibles that threw Ruffy off. Yontop coming in way overweight, missing catch weight, them changing it from 55 to 65. That's the only reason Yontop survived the onslaught. At 55, I'm sure Yontop's chin would have cracked too. And you can see the power that Ruffy delivers on punches. You saw it with the straight, and the kicking precision is crazy, and he's only getting better. Mauricio Ruffy is right now one of the guys to watch in the lightweight division. The win over Bobby Green was absolutely fucking massive. And the hype train is pretty real with this absolute savage 28-year-old that I think they're going to want to get him back in there kind of quick. I don't think he wants to wait around too long. He called for a fight night main event against Benny Dariush, who's ranked number 9. That would be a huge jump into the rankings, but is it really a bad idea? Right? Throw Benny Dariush in there, who's, a little chinny, just going to look to grapple, to build Ruffy's stock, who's surging as a prospect. Kind of makes a lot of sense, actually, right? For Ruffy to just get rushed into that big fight. I don't hate it. I don't hate him fighting the number 9 guy in the world, going from unranked to number 9. Especially, it's like a matchup that favors him. He goes out there and wins that one. I mean, the dude could literally be on the fast track to the title. Could potentially earn a fight against a Dan Hooker, depending on what Hooker does next. Let's say he lost to Sarukian, something like that, right? The opportunity for Ruffy to become a legit top 10 contender by the end of the year is actually right in front of us. And with a win like he had today, holy hell, I think the UFC is going to be giving him what he wants. And I like a main event. I want to see him tested in a 5-rounder. I want to see him fight a guy that can grapple like Benny Dariush, who's towards the end. Because here's the thing with Dariush. What do? Him and Moicano? What's the positive? One of them loses, one of them wins. But neither of those guys are in any bit of contention for the title. Moicano just took it on short notice and got crushed. So I think more sensible would be instead, pushing towards maybe doing Dariush and Ruffy and give him what he wants. Because I'm looking at the other guys. I know BSD is fighting Alvarez, and then maybe if Alvarez beats him, you could argue, they'll do Alvarez versus Ruffy. But I don't see it. Grant Dawson, I don't see it. Jalen Turner's going to be booted from the rankings. I don't see Ignacio Bahamondes and Ruffy as the next one. Maybe eventually, but not yet. I think it's the, new prospects at lightweight are slowly working their way in. And I think Ruffy and Ignacio Bahamondes are those guys right now. Jalen Turner retiring from the sport, surprisingly, after losing. That was crazy. We'll talk about that in a moment. Yeah, I like the idea of giving Ruffy what he wants. He made a call out. He made a statement. Give him what he wants. Beneil Dariush, Mauricio Ruffy, fight night main event. And let's book it soon, because I think that Dariush wants to get back in there. And I think timelines could be perfect, because it's not like Ruffy needs much time off after a 2-minute knockout. For Bobby Green, I think we need a serious conversation. I mean, he's been knocked out in 3 of his last 4 fights, or at least put to sleep. He didn't get knocked out by Patty, but he got ran the fuck over. Now he's got a bad loss here against Ruffy. Where does that bring him? Bobby Green was still, a top 20 talent, but now 2 straight finish losses. I don't know, dude. I really don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, Matt Frivola and him, maybe. Could they do him versus Esteban Ribovics? I could see that. Could they rebook the Jared Gordon fight? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't know the direction they're going with him. But his most recent win is against a 40-something-year-old Jim Miller. Most recent win before that was against Grant Dawson, which was hyper impressive, which was a sick one-shot knockout. But let's be honest, it was a perfect punch. I don't think that happens every damn time. Yeah. I think Bobby King Green's chin may be gone, so he's very susceptible to being knocked out against some of these dangerous guys. It's hard to say with a guy who's lost, 3 out of his last 4, what direction the UFC wants to go as far as matchmaking. But I definitely think he's, outside of that, top 20 at this point. And I think he is towards the end of his run. Ruffy with the sensational KO, though, was absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. Talk about taking advantage of the moment. Next fight, Amanda Lemos versus Lucindo. Kind of a boring fight. I had Lucindo here, but she ended up taking an L. Lemos gave her a bit of a veteran lesson. She won the first 2 rounds. Lucindo grappled a lot in the 3rd round. Lemos had success grappling in the first 2. It's pretty boring, man. A lot of clinch work. Some okay elbows by Lemos, but look, 12 significant strikes to 4. And that fight went 15 full minutes. The over 2.5 was beautiful if you're a gambler. Oh, yeah. But that sucked. Yeah, that was horrible. That fight was really boring. That fight was really fucking boring, actually. That was the most painful fight to watch maybe of the year. Yeah, it sucked, but is what it is. Not every fight is going to be a banger. Normally, Lemos is in really fun fights, and same goes for Lucindo, but matched up against one another, it just, I don't know, seemed like anxiousness was caused on both sides. Unfortunate. Papa Zin in because it's just not fun to talk about. It'd be better for the division if Lucindo won because she hadn't fought Weili yet, but she's too young, 23. Who's Lemos fighting next, man? Do I have to fucking match make? I mean, depends. It could be Lemos versus Yan Xiaonan next, but Yan Xiaonan's fighting Jandiroba. The winner of that fight is kind of in the title picture, especially with Tatiana recently losing. I don't know if Suarez wants to make a quick turnaround. Maybe Lemos gets in there with her. And then as far as Lucindo, I think her versus Tabitha Ricci makes sense. Lucindo and Tabitha Ricci is a fight I want to see. Let's put the prospects against one another. I like that idea. If it's not Lucindo versus Ricci, then it's Lucindo versus Angela Hill. It's one of those two. Nothing else. Those are the only options. Yeah, let's move on, please. Thank God. Featured fight of the night, Ignacio Bahamondes with the true breakout performance. Jalin Turner had some success early in the fight, getting on top of Bahamondes and trying to work some elbows, but Bahamondes was active from the bottom, throwing elbows, ripping shots, just being relentless from bottom position and being a menace to society. The dude's a savage. And then he locks up a fucking triangle because Jalin Turner was kind of getting over aggressive from top, and triangle's locked in. Turner's like, what the fuck? Didn't really have the ability to get out. Didn't want to pull away because he didn't want to get armbarred. Got a little close. The squeeze got tighter, and then Turner taps out. First round submission, 2 minutes and 29 seconds, not even half a round. Ignacio Bahamondes with a surprise triangle choke over Jalin Turner. This was a 50-50 fight. I called it all week, but I did pick Turner as a veteran lesson potentially. No, there was no veteran lesson. There was the Bahamondes prospect lesson to Turner. But if I would have known Turner would even be considering fucking retirement after a loss, there's no way that I would have picked him here. He's 29 years old. I was fucking flabbergasted. All right, that's the term I'm going to use for Jalin Turner post-fight saying, oh, I'm going to retire. That's my last fight. I don't want to do this anymore. You're 29. I'm so surprised. I know he's got a lot of losses and he's got a lot of fights, but a few fights ago, he's in a war with Dan Hooker. His heart was not in the game, and that's why he tapped quick too, whereas Ignacio Bahamondes is dreaming of fighting. All he thinks about is becoming the best. And he's in a really interesting spot to break into the rankings. We got 2 lightweights that are breaking into the rankings. I love the idea of them eventually fighting each other, but hold your horses, not yet. I think Ignacio Bahamondes could fight the winner of Benoit Saint-Denis and Yoel Alvarez. I believe that they're still booked. I know UFC.com doesn't always have everything updated. I'll double check, but I actually love the idea of a Yoel Alvarez and BSD winner fighting. He's not booked? No, it's not booked. I thought that fight was official. Maybe I'm delusional. I don't know, though. Does Yoel Alvarez get a fight against a ranked Bahamondes? Not so sure, but I want to see another battle of 6'3" savages at this weight class. I like the idea, though, of doing an Alvarez and BSD winner, but maybe Ignacio Bahamondes versus Benoit Saint-Denis is just the fight to make. If they're not going to do the Alvarez one, if that's not coming to fruition, I like the matchup a lot of BSD to have to fight against a surging guy like Ignacio. And I think it's a really cool matchup because I'm not jumping Ignacio into the number 10 spot. I'm not giving him Money Moicano, who's coming off a title shot, just off rip like that. I think he should fight Benoit Saint-Denis. Ignacio Bahamondes, Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm assuming Jalin Turner booted from the rankings. I'm assuming now we're going to have Benoit Saint-Denis at 14 and we'll have Ignacio Bahamondes at 15. And I think maybe you match them up against one another. I feel like that kind of works well. Not a huge jump up the ranks. I'm not saying, oh, Ignacio, let's do him versus Mateusz Gamrot. Not yet. He needs some time to work. He's got a nice win against Jalin, but I want to see him fight another ranked guy and a guy that maybe has more of his heart into it than Jalin Turner does, because retiring after the fight was not something I expected. I know Turner said he had some problems getting into the cage. I didn't think he meant like, I'm going to retire from fighting. He like couldn't get over his loss to Moicano, man. I don't get why. He lost. It is what it is. This guy's got a lot of fights, bro. It is what it is. It's the fight game. Loss doesn't define you, but if you retire off of it, I guess it kind of does. So Ignacio Bahamondes, more gritty, wanted it more. 3-fight win streak. He's now a top 15 guy. I'm excited for what's next, bro. The lightweight division is so sick right now. Bahamondes, good addition to the top. Co-main event, another lightweight fight. Justin Gaethje, my savage dog lock of the week, comes through for us all. That makes 4 in a row, man. How savage is that? 4 underdog, savage dog locks in a row. We started it off with Nazim Sadikov, and then we have Rob Font, and then it was Sam Patterson, and now it's Justin Gaethje. 4 straight. Badass, man. And Justin Gaethje will fight for your money, like I was saying. First round, Fiziev definitely won. He was a little craftier, a little more technical, a little sharper. But Gaethje just doesn't will. Gaethje doesn't will. Drops Fiziev bad in the second round, I believe. If somehow I mixed the rounds up, that's just because it's fucking 3:53 in the morning. Gaethje's hands look good, though. That uppercut was so crisp. Fiziev did have some nasty body kicks, some nasty knees to the body. Even in the third round, Fiziev started the third round great, and it was like, oh, shit. Yeah, it was definitely the second round that I think Gaethje dropped Fiziev. It was like the momentum was all Gaethje, but Fiziev was not quitting. I mean, in round number 3, he was there throwing hard shots, and he was coming in on short notice, so he was definitely more tired than Gaethje, but he was still ripping body shots. He was finding home to a shitload of them, and he won the like mostly first half of round 3, but he got tired. Gaethje put it on him. He was relentless. He hunted him down with big shots, walked him back, ripped big punch combinations, landed clean strikes, and at the end of the day, Justin Gaethje pulls through with the decision win. That first round was the one that Fiziev won. I have a clear picture of it now as we start talking about it. It was weird because Gaethje was like taken down by Fiziev twice, which I did not expect. Fiziev to wrestle was shocking to everybody. And then Gaethje was even caught in like a bit of an inverted triangle position where Fiziev ended up on top of him in a very weird scramble. So it was pretty crazy to see Fiziev wrestling up Gaethje, right? Because we normally think of Gaethje as the wrestler, but, you know, we've seen him out grappled before. It's just, I don't know. Fiziev's a striker. Seeing him shoot for takedowns. Even Gaethje was shocked at that tactic. But ultimately, it didn't matter. He lost the first round. He won the second and third. Was relentless with pressure, overcame some adversity, dropped Fiziev bad in the second round and did some real damage in round 3, finished the fight very strong. And yeah, he lost the beginning, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I think the ending sequences of the third round are more important than the, you know, first half of it. I think it's how you finish it. And Gaethje was coming on strong, and you'd think if that was 5 rounds, Gaethje would have handled business in a 4th or a 5th as well. So Justin Gaethje with a win that made us remember. His boxing looked good in this fight. His chin looked good. He took some big shots from Fiziev, man. Even high kick. Like, he took shots to the chin, and the chin held up. It's like this bullshit narrative was pushed around that Justin Gaethje's chin is gone and he's just going to get ran over. I thought that was delusional, and it absolutely was. I didn't just think it. It was. Justin Gaethje won the fight. But now you ask yourself, what do you do next with Gaethje? Oh, my God. Okay, so Ranked number 3 in the world. If it's not Topuria title shot, I could see the UFC giving Justin Gaethje a chance to fight Makhachev. I know that Gaethje and Makhachev, both want to fight one another. Obviously, Gaethje wants another title shot, and Makhachev has, spoken about fighting Justin Gaethje, and I think he'd like that. The winner of this fight could potentially be next for him because he doesn't want to fight another featherweight. That's what it feels like. Topuria now, vacating the belt next month as soon as Lopez and Volkanovski get inside of the cage. Now, Topuria is not going to be a champ, but I'm sure that he wants a title fight, and I think the UFC would be interested in booking it. I just don't know for sure. If it's not Gaethje versus Makhachev, it's not going to be Gaethje Poirier 2. Even Gaethje said, I don't think, my family and Poirier's want us to fight again, and he's cool with the 1-1. And I think for Poirier's last fight, they want to do something new. I don't think they do a Max Holloway rematch. I don't know. They could potentially rebook the Dan Hooker fight, but Gaethje getting this win here, even though it was against the number 11 ranked guy in Fiziev, I feel like he's got to fight forward. I could see if it's not a title fight, right, and they go the route of Makhachev versus Topuria, then I actually am very cool with Gaethje versus Tsarukyan. I think that would be an incredibly compelling stylistic matchup with the insane Gaethje pressure and boxing combos and power, and Tsarukyan having very tactical striking, but also the strong wrestling base, and seeing Gaethje get taken down here. Wonder if, Tsarukyan would go to the well with some wrestling and look to, exploit that in Justin Gaethje a bit, as it could be. But yeah, definitely some interesting options. It's probably either title shot or Tsarukyan. I would favor those unless they rebook the Hooker fight. I don't think anybody's complaining about a 5-round Hooker fight getting rebooked. I think it would be badass. But it's just Gaethje is 36. He's towards the end. So I feel like if he's not fighting up, I'd be a little surprised. And a Makhachev fight between, Gaethje, like it still sells. It's still a good lightweight title defense. And if it's not Makhachev and they're doing Makhachev Topuria, then Tsarukyan's right there in a matchup that makes sense too. But maybe he wouldn't want to fight Tsarukyan then, and we'd go the route of Dan Hooker. But Dan Hooker could potentially be fighting Tsarukyan. They've been talking some shit back and forth online, and I don't think that's super far-fetched. And timeline of Makhachev coming back will kind of determine everything. Obviously, Makhachev is watching the fight between Belal and JDM, and maybe thinking if JDM wins, he'll want to move up and wait, and who knows, maybe then they do an interim title fight, or maybe Gaethje fights somebody else. There's so many what-ifs when you're, doing fight matchmaking without knowing the next step, but just some ideas. Now, for Fiziev, I still think he's quite good. He took this fight on short notice and did well. I like the idea of him fighting the loser of Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett. And if it is Michael Chandler and Fiziev just seems like a really fun fight. I want to see Michael Chandler and Fiziev regardless of the outcome of the Paddy Pimblett fight, to be honest with you. But if Chandler was to win, I could see the UFC going a different direction. But Fiziev stepping in on short notice, doing the UFC a big favor like this and putting on a strong performance in a loss, but going 3 hard rounds with Justin Gaethje, who's the number 3 lightweight on the planet, I am not opposed to seeing him getting a Michael Chandler fight, and I would be interested, right? Both stockier strikers, more technique on the side of Fiziev, and if he's got a full camp preparing for the whole show, I mean, I could see him handling a Michael Chandler, so I hope we get Fiziev and Chandler at some point. I would like to see that. Fiziev definitely proves he's still high level, but 2 losses to Gaethje, unfortunately for him, but he's still in the mix amongst the elite guys. He did the UFC a big favor, and trust me, he will be rewarded forthcoming for his feat here of stepping in on short notice. So respect. But yeah, I like the Chandler fight. We'll see if it happens. Let's talk about the main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you hit the likes. If you're new, subscribe. Alex Pereira was dethroned by Magomed Ankalaev, and I'm sure there are a significant amount of you upset, and even a handful of you guys claiming that the fight was a robbery. Now, know this. I did pick Magomed Ankalaev to win the fight. Fight was less entertaining than I would have hoped, though. I won't lie to you. So let's go round by round and kind of talk about what I saw. So in the first round, Alex Pereira was incredibly precise with his low kicks and his striking from range. Ankalaev was kind of caught chasing a lot. Even tried a late takedown at the end of the first round, and Alex Pereira absolutely stuffed it. His takedown defense was off the chain. I want to emphasize that. 12 failed takedowns for Magomed Ankalaev throughout the whole fight. First round was Pereira's without a shine of a doubt. None. But we get to the second round. Magomed Ankalaev starts finding his range, starts landing shots, starts putting Pereira on the back foot and making him a bit uncomfortable. And he actually badly rocked Pereira at the end of round 2. And Pereira seemed to be saved by the bell after a big combination by Magomed Ankalaev. Second round was clearly Ankalaev's. Now we get to round 3. It's more of Magomed Ankalaev backing Alex Pereira up, right? Ankalaev on the offensive, landing some shots, Pereira firing back. Ankalaev may be landing a tad bit cleaner and is the one dictating the pace and the controlled aggression that he has, forcing Pereira away from him. In a round that was very competitive, I ever so slightly edged that third round towards Magomed Ankalaev, but if you were watching me live, you know I spoke upon that this round is going to be the round that determines everything. I thought there will be a good handful of the people. Actually, I thought maybe even the judges would have given Alex Pereira that third round. It was competitive for sure, but how I saw it is Ankalaev pressuring him backwards, still hitting him with good combination shots. Even though Pereira had some success, I believe Ankalaev had a tad bit more, enough so that I thought he had deserved the third round. Now, round 4, smothering attack from Magomed Ankalaev, controlled Pereira a bit, backed him up, definitely won the 4th round. So round 1 is obviously Alex Pereira. Round 2, obviously Ankalaev. And round 4, obviously Ankalaev. Personally, I thought round 3, also Ankalaev. But ultimately, I recognized that it was a rather competitive round, but still scored it for Ankalaev. And we got to score it live like the judges do, right? We seeing it all and scoring it. That's how judges do it. That's how I'm doing it here. Round number 5, Alex Pereira found success. He landed some decent shots. Ankalaev was just looking to pressure wrestle a bit, smothering up Pereira, even holding him up against the cage. But I don't think Ankalaev did enough in that 5th round, though. I do think Alex Pereira had slightly more significant striking and more effective striking in that 5th and final round that took the 5th round, right? So he wins the 5th. So we have the champion of the world winning round 1 and round 5. Unfortunately, winning round 1 and round 5 loses you the fight, even if you're the champion. And I get people are pissed off, right? Ankalaev finished the fight kind of bad. He was holding a bit, losing some combination strikes or losing in combination with strikes, getting caught a bit. It's fucking 4 a.m. At the end of it all, though, the scorecard that I had was still 3-2 Ankalaev. As much wishful thinking and hope as we can have, I think that Magomed Ankalaev did win rounds 2-4. And I get that round 3 was a lot better for Pereira. Something that happens is a bias that happens of a fighter that does bad in a previous round. So Pereira getting hurt in round 2, but then making it competitive in the next round. There's kind of this human bias that a lot of fans have that then they score the round towards the guy that did better than the previous round. But even though he kind of still lost the round, he did better than last time. So it's like, okay, well, he won the round because he was badly hurt in the last, and then it was close. That's not how you score it. Ankalaev still was more effective with the controlled aggression, right? The octagon control, the pressure forward, dictating the pace. Ankalaev did that. In round 4, he won for sure. So close round 3. Right? The ultimate decider was round number 3. Pereira had combinations. He had moments, but his power looked much more human. He couldn't really hurt Ankalaev. He did kind of hurt him in the 5th. He threw a nice high kick that was blocked by Ankalaev, but Ankalaev felt it, hit him with some decent shots, but nothing that, almost knocked him down or anything, but had him retreating a bit. Much better 5th round for Alex Pereira. But I thought the real scorecard was 48-47 from Magomed Ankalaev. Rounds 2-4 were Ankalaev's, but round 1 and round 5 were Pereira's. So as a fan, you see round 1 was Pereira's. Oh, he fucking won. Then it went bad. And then, oh, he finished strong. So it's like you want the champion to be given that W because, how he finished the fight. Oh, well, he won at the end. But that's not how fights are scored. It's not how fights are scored. It's not about that. It's about a 10-point must system, a round by round. If you win rounds 2-4, regardless of losing round 1 and 5, even if they are extremely clear and you're getting the shit kicked out of you, you ultimately still win the fight. And that's what happened here with Pereira. It was no robbery. It was a close fight. There was competitive moments. Alex Pereira proved that he has takedown defense. Magomed Ankalaev proved that he's a really quality striker and he could deal with Pereira's knockout power and absolute insane clean left hooks and the combinations that really weren't super effective. And he also showed he can deal with the leg kicks in the long run of a fight. Ankalaev's the rightful winner. But the sour taste in the mouth of the fans is the fact that Pereira won the 5th round and Ankalaev really did embrace the grind with clinch pressure and control, which was not entertaining. And he's not winning many fans with doing that style. Of course not. And most fans love Pereira because he delivers the knockout most of the time. And, he has the aura about him, and he's the fighter of the year last year. He's a UFC superstar. But it's not about being the star. It's about winning the fight. And Magomed Ankalaev took rounds 2 through 4. Now, I know people will freak out about past decisions. Oh, well, John Jones could have easily lost that fight to, Reyes in a similar fashion. But that's not the same judge. It's not the same fight. It is what it is. The decision went the way it should have. I thought years ago Dom Reyes probably earned that decision against Jones. It went to Jones. And sure, is that better for the UFC? Absolutely. Does the UFC probably wish that Alex Pereira got kind of a gifted decision and they just gave the third round to him and he would have won against Ankalaev? Absolutely. They would have much preferred a split decision win for Alex Pereira, without a doubt, even if it's controversial. But I think fair judging and truly winning, who's the best winning, I should say, is most optimal. Not most optimal as a fan, but most optimal for the purity of the sport. But Magomed Ankalaev, with this win is not needle mover at all. Pereira is the needle mover. So what are we going to do? You run an immediate rematch. There's no other way to shape it. And I believe that there will be a narrative push that Alex Pereira was robbed. At least some will say, or at least controversial or super competitive decision. And they'll feel like, hey, Pereira should be right back in there. And I agree. I think Pereira should get a rematch. I mean, the dude was absolutely on fire at light heavyweight, and he lost a close fight to Magomed Ankalaev. But I asked myself, if they do it again, does anything change, or are we going to look at something similar? Maybe even Ankalaev potentially finding the finish. It's a real possibility. Ankalaev, deserving winner, takes it home. There was no robbery. There was no controversy. The right man won. It's just not what most fans wanted. I can't just go and be a fan and say, oh, Pereira's my pick. No, I picked Ankalaev because I thought he would do this. And he did. And it was effective. And he deserved the decision. Yeah, it's not the needle-moving fight. It's not what everybody wanted. But it is what it is because that's the fucking fight game. So congrats to Magomed Ankalaev for the W. I look forward to Pereira and Ankalaev running it back, though. Wasn't a super entertaining fight. It was an okay fight. Not a fight that fans are going to be salivating at the bit. Oh, I can't wait to see it again as far as like the entertainment value. But they're going to be praying that Pereira comes back with an invigoration and finds the chin of Ankalaev. And if Ankalaev and Pereira rematch and Pereira wins, I don't know about them doing the trilogy. I think they'll boost Pereira up to heavyweight and say, all right, he won the fight. First one was close. They'll sell it as the first one was a robbery. And then he knocked him out or he finished him off, Oh, I got the finish. He beat me by a controversial decision. I know. You know that. I know that you know, and you know what I mean too. You all do. Congrats for Ankalaev, but I expect to see these two tangle before the end of the year in a rematch. Now, as far as the predictions on the card, pretty amazing. My pick was Magomed Ankalaev, and new champion came through with a W there. Pick was Justin Gaethje as the Savage Dog Lock, and he did come through, so 2-0 there. Did lose, had turnover Bahamondes, but that turned out to be dumb. 2-1 there. Had Lucindo over Lemos. Did not come to fruition, but did go distance. I thought it would, over 2.5. 2-2 there. And then had Ruffy by knockout over King Green, of course. 3 wins and 2 losses. Van over Tsuruya by decision. 4 wins and 2 losses. Ferreira by submission over Petrosyan. Had Ferreira. Thought he would pull through as an underdog. And he did. And he showcased that fucking grappling game when Petrosyan's a little sus on the ground. So that's what, 5-2. And then had Leal over Morono. That was 6-2. Got absolutely robbed in this one. I should be 7-2 here because I thought Francis Marshall win. In my heart, I counted as a W because I scored that fight round by round, and I think I'm a pretty straight down the center scorer, and I feel Marshall did get that decision. So I will say, in my heart of hearts, I am really 8-2. Also had Ozzy Diaz as a dog there, and I thought he did enough to win, just barely. So 8-2 on the picks if all things were righteous, but 7-3 because, it is what it is. Robberies happen. Now, people were asking me last week, oh, bro, what about the parlays? I'll just read some off. So if you wanted to go Djorden with me, well, you won big because Gaethje, Ferreira, and Diaz to win, plus 1363 for the big dog money. There's also some other ones like the quality play with Gaethje, Van, Ruffy, and Ferreira coming through. Then just Gaethje, Ruffy, and Ferreira at plus 575. Gaethje and Ferreira, 2 of my favorite dogs, plus 452. Good one was Gaethje, Van, Ruffy, and Leal, plus 410 with some confident picks. Then you can see the other ones at the top. The safe play, Van and Ruffy, Van, Ruffy, and Leal, Gaethje, Van, Ruffy. And then post weigh-in, I had some of you guys drop what you loved, following the weigh-ins during the live stream, and we kind of created a parlay all together. And majority of those came through. The actually one that lost, the only one that lost, was a robbery. It was Ferreira and Carpenter, which I thought would have hit and would have been over plus 600. But all of the lineup came through with the people that called. That Lucindo over 2.5 was beautiful with her and Lemos. And then, Gaethje, Ruffy together, plus 193. You can see it all, minus 103, Van, Ruffy, Ferreira, Ruffy, plus 168. So any way that you played it, you had a lot of options for W's. You guys know, I like to give you the ideas and help be a tool to guide you in the way in your parlays. And there was a lot of high success if you played some underdogs. You were winning. Because at the end of it all, the dogs were the way to go. This card. I mean, 5 underdogs won on this card, right? Is that accurate? Yeah, 1 underdog, right? 2 underdog, 3 underdog, 4 underdog. 6 underdogs won on the card. And I called 4 of them. But there should have been 5 underdog calls right for me, because the winner of that second fight of the night was Carpenter. Or is it Carpenter? Oh, my God. Did I do it again? I called him Carpenter. Wow. Clayton Carpenter, somehow, I always call him Carpenter. I'm sorry, Francis Marshall, dude. But Marshall should have been the winner. Like, come on now. Should have had 5 dogs hit. But it is what it is, though. Picks overall were pretty amazing with the Savage dog lock, Justin Gaethje coming through, and my other favorite dog in Ferreira hitting. So all things were great on the analysis side of things, and I'm very happy with UFC 313 from a breakdown perspective. Ultimately, as a fan, I thought that Lucindo Lemos fight sucked, and I thought that Pereira versus Ankalaev was okay, not great. But Gaethje and Fiziev was a badass war. Bahamondes and Turner was an awesome fight, and Ruffy's knockout was insane. Actually, Bahamondes' finish was awesome. The fight itself, I mean, it was good while it lasted, but it was one-sided. Performance of the night bonuses went to Ruffy and to Bahamondes. Both guys should be, in the rankings or fighting in the rankings next time out. Absolutely love that. And then fight of the night bonus went towards Fiziev and Gaethje. Absolutely agree. But I do hope that Ozzy, Diaz and Djorden Santos get like 25K each, because those dudes put on a banger to start the card off. So decent card. The way it finishes without the cherry on top of like a super good main event hurt it. The Lemos fight kind of hurt it. It was decent. It was good. It was good. It was a good card. It was good. I'm looking through it. It was good. Gaethje and Fiziev was awesome. Bahamondes was awesome. Green Ruffy, awesome. Van Tsuruya, good fight. Ferreira, Petrosyan was awesome. Yeah, there was awesome fights. Leal's win was awesome. Santos and Marshall was a great fight, regardless of the controversial decision. Diaz and Santos was good. Nah, it's like an 8 out of 10 card. It was a good card. It was good. It was good. I'm calling it like 8 out of 10, man. I can't be too damn critical just because, the main event was subpar and the Lucindo and Lemos fight was trash. But can't shit on the whole card just for a couple of them. And yeah, the main event wasn't the finish we all hoped for, the badass back and forth, but it was a good competitive fight with, intense moments. And there was definitely tension for most fans watching. So yeah, say good card overall. I hope you guys enjoyed the weekly content. Thank you guys for over 45,000 subs and over 106,000 views during the live stream. So big things coming on the channel. Keep it locked in. Smash the likes if you haven't. If you're new, subscribe, and definitely let me know what you thought in the comments. Did you think the main event was a robbery? I know some of you did. Let me know in the comments. And did you think that Francis Marshall pulled through? Because I did. And I want to hear from you guys. If you got nothing to say in the comments, but just enjoy my content, W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thanks for watching the recap show. I'll see you guys all for the predictions very soon for next week's card. Much love. Peace out.